Mike Owens with Inside Fighting here, joined today by Elijah Smith, who is one of the newest recruits to the UFC after his big win on Contender Series on Tuesday night. Elijah, great to sit down and chat. How are things with you today?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
How are your emotions after what is obviously the biggest win of your career?
Man, almost like a surreal feeling like I couldn't, you know, it really hit me like the night after the fight. That morning of I woke up and I was like, dang, I'm a UFC fighter now. That's kind of wild to say now.
Did
So I mean, yeah.
did the whole experience on Contender Series, the whole kind of fight and everything, did it live up to your expectations?
Oh yeah, yeah, it definitely lived up to my expectations. It was definitely a lot that I had to go through because everybody knows I took the fight on short notice, so I had to do all the medicals and get all the interviews done in like a week and a half. So it was crazy. It was a crazy 2.5 weeks.
How many days' notice did you take the fight on?
It was about I want to say it was about a 16 days notice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So talk me through that when you get that phone call and what's going through your mind when you get the offer.
Yeah, so I'm at work. I work at a car dealership. I'm a service advisor, and I'm dealing with some customers. And I see my manager. He calls me, and I'm dealing with a customer, and I can't pick up right now. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then my pops calls me after I finished working with a customer, and he was like, "Yo, we might have a spot in the Contender Series." So I was like, "Oh snap!" Hurry up, got off the phone with my dad, called my manager back, and I was like, "Yo, is this true?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "The guy that was supposed to fight is having visa issues," and I was like, "Oh man," I was like, I hate to be that guy, but I was like, "Man, I hope he continues having visa issues because I want that." I want that. I'm like, man, I'm only an hour and a half away from Vegas. I'm good.
A little bit of a technical difficulty there, but we were talking about your massive win against Aaron Toe on Tuesday night. Have you had a chance to watch it back? And if so, how do you reflect on the performance?
Yeah, I mean, looking back at the performance, I mean, from a fan standpoint, I think that was a fan favorite fight, and I feel like that was we gave everybody uh a good main event. I even had people DMing me saying like that was better than UFC 306 main events. And I was like, huh, that's something that we always look forward to hearing and everything. But from a fighter standpoint, a lot of technical things that I made mistakes on that we're going to go back to the gym, of course, and get better at. A lot of people were talking about my conditioning and how I gassed out in the last round, which I did. Yeah, I'm gonna get better with my conditioning. No excuse on the late notice, but that did play a big factor. So I wish people were if they were in our fight camp and they knew what was going on, then they would probably understand. But that's all this Twitter fingers and all these people that are talking. So I don't let that get to me because I know where I'm at. But yeah, just a lot of there was a couple of technical things that I need to get better on. But it was a little bit harder because Aaron, he was 5'3", so there was nobody at my gym that's five
Yeah.
three. So that was I just had to figure it out on the fly, and yeah, we did it.
I wanted to ask you about that because obviously you take the fight on short notice, and there is a moment where we can obviously see your lack of preparation and your cardio not being quite there, and we do see a
Yeah.
shift in the fight. Do you feel like people saw the real version of Elijah Smith on Tuesday, or how much do you feel like you've got left to show?
No, they didn't even get close to seeing the real version of Elijah. Um, I'm telling you, and I told Dana White that I said once I get a full fight camp under me, and actually prepare, you'll see a completely different fighter. And also I mean, the Contender Series is a pressure cooker in itself. I mean, I feel like a couple of guys before me, they were gassing out too. So I mean, you add in those factors, you have the biggest fight of your career, and then you have Dana White sitting right in front of you. It can put a little pressure and make you do things that you don't normally do. Like you want to be flashy and all that stuff, and you want the big knockout, so you're throwing harder than usual and not preserving your energy because we're gunning for that contract.
For those who
But
haven't
yeah,
seen you fight before this fight, how would you describe your fighting style?
I would describe my fighting style really technical, pretty fast and strong. Um, just a well-rounded game from the stand up to my grappling, which I feel like I showed I feel like I was able to show a little bit of that in this past fight against Aaron on the Contender Series. Just being able to mix it up. I do want to go back, like I said, and work on a little bit more ground control. But again, he had small limbs and he was a short, stocky guy, and he was a little bit he was hard to hold down. I can't lie, he was hard to hold down. Every time I took him down, I got into some weird position. I was like, all right, well, I got to figure out how to work through this. But yeah,
I love it. It's so interesting because even when you look at the last season of Contender Series, we've seen massive names who've been able to do so much in such a short space of time. I mean, Payton Talbott, Carlos Prates, John Silver were all on the last season of Contender, and yet they're doing huge things. When you look back at the rest of this season, do you feel like you'll be one of the stars to come out of season 8?
oh yeah, 100%. I feel like I got the looks, I got the charisma, I have the show for it in my fight game. I mean, I feel like I'm gonna be a favorite fighter here shortly. So I can't wait till I make my UFC debut and yeah and get in front of a crowd and show people like yeah I'm a draw, like I'm somebody you want to see. I'm somebody that you want to watch fight.
What's the next move in your mind? If we're talking about a perfect world, do you have a date? Do you have a location, or maybe even an opponent that you'd like to face in your first fight in the UFC?
I don't really have an opponent. But I always wanted to fight at Madison Square Garden. I am a little bit banged up right now, but I feel like I'll be fine in a month. Um, and after that, man, I mean, I just want to get my first UFC debut out of the way and just continue on with the story, man. Like I mean, the Contender Series is so crazy. We sit here and that was something that I anticipated for. It felt like these last 2 weeks it was forever. And then now that it finally came and it happened, it felt like I just blinked and now it's over. So yeah, I mean, I'm still hungry to get back in there and actually make my UFC debut in front of a crowd with my friends and family there because they only gave me 4 tickets for the Contender Series for my family. So yeah, no, I'm excited for that.
And what a moment to share with your dad. I mean, I think it's been widely reported, but only the second father and son duo to ever fight in the UFC. Obviously, you haven't made your debut yet, but you are a UFC fighter. Is there a moment that you've shared between your dad, whether it be before the fight or after the fight, that you can share with us?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I mean, the biggest thing was like right before we walked out, right before I pushed those doors open on the Contender Series. I gave him a big hug and just told him that I loved him. Like this is something that we've been working for a very long time, and we're just 2 minutes away from walking out and making this dream come to reality. So that was the biggest thing. And to be honest, I didn't even know. It's crazy. We did 3 things in one night. The 3 things that we did was we won the fight, got the contract, and made history. The third one, the making history, was something that I wasn't. I mean, we weren't even thinking about.
Mm.
And wow, I mean, when they told me, I was like, yeah, we did something big here. Like this is something that hasn't been done in a very long time, and to be only the second one, it's like it's big, it's huge. Like, and yeah, and I give all my credit to him. He helped me throughout the way, and yeah, he always every time that I fight, it always you guys will always see him in my corner.
How much of an advantage do you think it is having your dad side by side on your journey, because he can give you so much advice and so much wisdom of maybe some of the steps to take, or maybe even some of the mistakes that he made that he doesn't want you to make? Do you look at that as an
Yeah,
advantage?
I think I do have a little bit of advantage on most people, especially on the regional scene. As I now become a UFC fighter, I feel like that advantage kind of evens out now because now you have, Aaron Tao. He had guys training with him like Adesanya, Dan Hooker, and
Mm.
Kai Kara France. Giving him the ropes and telling him what it's going to be like. I would kind of say he even had a little bit more of the advantage because when my dad was coming up, he was on the Ultimate Fighter twice and had one fight in the UFC, and I was, in the still a little bit early stages of the UFC. I mean, a lot has changed uh since he was competing.
Mm.
So I feel like Aaron Tone and those guys, they're already, used to the new era of UFC. So I feel like they had a little bit more experience, but I feel like on the regional scene, I definitely had the advantage,
Yeah.
definitely by far.
Well, last question from me, and thank you so much for your time. When you look at the landscape of the bantamweight division, now you are a UFC bantamweight, is there one fight, maybe not today, but maybe in the future, you go Elijah Smith versus that guy is going to be one that the fans can remember? Is there a fight that you're particularly looking to
Oh
maybe look forward to in the future?
man, I feel like, and I'm a big fan of the dude. Like I follow him on Instagram. Um, I don't think the timing is right. Of course, not right now, but down the road, I think me and Payton Talbott would be a fun fight, man. That'd be a fun fight. But first, I like to hang out with the dude. He seemed like a cool guy. So, but I feel like that'd be an exciting fight. He's a really exciting fighter. People are already getting attached to him and loving him, calling him the next Sean O'Malley. But yeah, I feel like that would be a fun fight.
I love it. Well, Elijah, great to see you back in action on Tuesday night. Congrats on the win. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully we can get you on that MSG card in November.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.